Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Betting Show Wildcard Weekend, brought to you by freebets.com, the very best daily free bets, brought to you by the Free Bets team. Adam, you are part of the Free Bets team. You got some stuff coming out for Wildcard Weekend?
I have. I've got slightly strange, but I think it's just purely about the fact that they can only put so much out. So that's why they've done it. I have done 3 bet builders. We're going to play a little game. Andrew, name the games that they have got me to do.
From these games, they have got you to do Packers Bears.
Yes.
Bills Jags.
Yes.
Chargers Patriots.
Oh, he failed miserably at the end. 49ers Eagles. You can get all 3 of them over at free bets. They're not out at the moment, but they will. Packers Bears will be out on Saturday morning, and the Bills and Jags games Bills Jags 49ers Eagles will be out on Sunday morning, as well as a couple of FA Cup games if you want to, look at that as well. So yeah, plenty of stuff over there.
Well, today's show is going to be slightly different. Like I said, we usually talk about a game that's been on or something, or tonight's game or something like that. But obviously, with it being Wildcard Weekend, we haven't got the F-Tag 5 this week. We're going to go through each and every one of the games and say which one of the spreads we like or don't like. So there'll be a lot of avoids or yes, put it in there. And we might look at some of the overs and unders as well. So we'll jump straight into that. And we'll go from the top. So first up is for the UK viewers is the 9:30 game, LA Rams against the Panthers. Adam, it's the largest spread of all of them at -10.5. I know when we spoke about this on the main show, lots of you weren't worried at all about it being such a high number and think this is the game that's going to be the blowout. Whereas I was a bit skeptical of it, with it being a playoff game. Would they completely blow them? I obviously think the Rams are going to win. It's just, can they cover? What were your thoughts on this one? Was the spread slightly too high with that +5 on the end of it?
I don't think the +5 really matters. Once you hit past 7, I don't think it really matters if they add it 0.5, do they?
Well, I think if it's a touchdown and a field goal, it's slightly in your head that's all it is. I think when you put the +5 on, it's a touchdown and 2 field goals or two touchdowns, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose that makes sense, like from a sort of mathematical point of view. Where I'm somewhat concerned, I think when you look at it, and I think you were right to be slightly concerned about it, because it does. This is a playoff game. At the end of the day, and historically, playoff games tend to be quite tight affairs, and there's not a lot between the teams. Now, I think that they've got it right in respect that the Rams are clear favourites for this, and I think that's a fair enough assessment. But yeah, 10.5 is a lot, and that Panthers defense is not shockingly bad. And it wasn't that long ago that the Panthers beat the Rams at home. So it does kind of make you feel a little bit like the 10.5 is quite a lot when you think about it.
Yeah, definitely. I think I also mentioned the weakness of the Rams. I think the Panthers have got strengths in those areas as well. I don't think they're going to go away lightly. And as you said, it becomes more of a chess game in the playoffs rather than, you've not got that next, it doesn't matter, we'll go for this because we've got next week, so it doesn't really matter. Like, it's all on this. So I think it is a lot more conservative. But McVay is the type of guy, I think, to, pedal to the metal and go for it a bit more, especially with him having such a high-powered offense. And the defense hasn't been up to scratch. It might turn into a bit of an offensive shootout for the Rams. So there is the possibility of it being over that. I just worry at the 10.5 when some of the others are better lines.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are better bets to be had this week over these games. My concern with the Panthers is that I don't feel like the offense is going to. I think on occasion they can put up like a 25-point game or a 30-point game on occasion, but it's quite rare. that happens. So it does feel like there's a limit to what they can do. When it comes to the Rams, Devontae Adams is meant to be back for this game, which I think is going to be a huge plus for them. And
Higbee was a big plus for them as well, wasn't he?
He was.
Yeah.
I think, you know, that's another one where Higbee played really well last week. I think they've got lots of potential match winners, and you know they're all kind of decent prices as well later on when we look at the sort of like touchdown scorers. There's a lot of different guys there, and I think that's going to mean that they're going to be very difficult to stop because they've just got so many different options and so many different guys. You just can't mark everybody. And the fact of the matter is like Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua are the two that are going to be, you know, marked the most. So it's like it does open up all these other guys, these other tight ends. They're a very strong offense. I don't think it's going to take the defense too much in order to be able to slow the Panthers down here. I think the 10.5, it's very big, and that's the reason why I'm a little bit like I feel like I would rather veer towards the Panthers because it's just as big as it is. It's very difficult to kind of, despite the fact that the Rams have got all of them weapons, I think they will score on them. I think they will win this game relatively easily. But the fact that it's 10.5, I just feel like that Panthers defense is good enough in order to be able to keep the game reasonably close.
Yeah, you spoke briefly there about the Panthers being able to put up 20 points or something around that. The over-under is at 46.5, Adam. What's your feeling on that? Do you think that's a little bit low in terms of the way the game's going to be played? Or like you said, is it a chess match and it'd be more conservative and you maybe go under? What's your thoughts on the over-under?
I think that the over will probably hit in this. I could see the Rams hitting like I could see this ending up like a 30-20. And it, like I say, it being very close to the 10.5, but it could be something like that where the Panthers, I think they're going to have to they're going to have to put points. They're going to have to throw the ball. I think it wouldn't shock me if they ended up being behind in this game quite quickly, and they're going to have to sort of like use Bryce Young, and so obviously that means you've got a lot more time on the clock if you're passing all the time. It's not how they have been successful before. That normally the run game is what gives them success, but I just feel like the Rams could push them quite far. The Rams could get ahead quite quickly, and the Panthers are going to have to come back. So I think the over. I think that this could be one of the bigger scores for the Panthers this week that they've had all season. I just don't think that it's going to be like they're going to get blown out, sort of thing.
Yeah. The next game up is your Green Bay Packers at the Chicago Bears, a game that seems to have America sort of gripped a little bit more. I think with it being a divisional game, this seems to be the one that's on the podcast being talked about quite a lot, because I know we covered it on Monday, and as the week's gone on, I've listened to some of my other podcasts that I listen to, and it's split every single person I've listened to. I'm hearing so many like, yes, I like the Packers. Yes, I like the Bears. This is why I don't. Even the spread as well at -1. I think it was the lowest one of all of them when we covered them all. I can see now that the Bills-Jags is now come a bit closer. I think the Packers-Bears was the closest one at -1 to the Packers. That's your team, and you weren't a fan of the Packers in this game, and now you've managed to sort of like let it settle. Go on.
That's changed, isn't it?
No,
Were the Bears favourite on Monday?
I can't remember. It was only -1, whatever it was.
Yeah. I'm sure the Bears were favourite. I can't. Maybe I've got that wrong. I can't remember.
But this is what I mean. It's swapped and changed. Every podcast I listen to throughout the week, it's swapped and changed who people think are going to win this. I was undecided of which side of the ball I wanted to go on with this, because each person's strengths and weaknesses match up well against the others. You were firmly on the fact that you thought your Packers were going to lose. Are you still on that now? You've had time to sort of digest it and listen and sort of process everything that's going to go on with this?
Yeah, I'm a Packers fan. Have you not worked this out yet? Of course, I'm going to stick and say, look, from the fan point of view, I don't think we're going to do anything. From the point of view of, if you look at this purely from a betting point of view, because it's like 1 point, it is literally like a money line shot. So it's just whoever you fancy, really. It's really, really difficult. I think, to me, the obvious weakness from both teams is the fact that the Bears struggle against the run, and they have done pretty much all season. So that's the obvious weakness that you can go for. They're 27th when it comes to giving up rushing yards. If you have to go into this game expecting Josh Jacobs to be fit, because he's being played all the time, and although he's kind of like missed time and not had as many snaps as normal, it does feel like, maybe that week off has helped him out a little bit, and so you got to feel like he's going to be coming into this game fit. If that's the case, then he does have the potential to completely win any game by himself. He has that ability to do it. So that kind of like, that feels like the obvious weakness. I know that the Packers have got a lot of injuries, and that obviously has limited what they've been able to do and what, like, during the regular season, and probably what they're going to be able to do in the playoffs as well. But yeah, it's like I say, from the fan point of view, I just kind of want to go to sleep and not watch it. It's got horror written all over it for me. It really has. But if you think of it purely from a sort of like a stats point of view, you do go on to the Packers side, because, like I say, the Bears defense is the weak point. The Packers, although have injuries, when you think about that game, it was 16-6, and they made so many mistakes. You have to feel like that sort of thing can't happen again, based on just the sheer amount of mistakes that they made. And that kind of gives you that sort of like, so the logic of that tells you that it should be the Packers. It should be, when you think about it in that way. Because bear in mind, all them injuries they've got, they were all injured in that game as well. And that's where when you sit down and you think about it logically, it makes sense to go -1 on the Packers. Just don't ask me to do it.
Yeah, you never bet on them, regardless of even if it's a good bet. You'd be like, no, I'm not putting any money on it, just in case. If I do, then it won't come through. Yeah, I didn't realize until looking into it how bad the Bears' defense has actually been. You mentioned it being bad against the run. It's also been bad against the pass as well.
Yeah,
they're quite in the bottom half in ranked in passing as well. I think passing defense. They have, yardage wise, they are conceding the 22nd most. They've conceded 32 touchdowns as well. So yeah, not great considering when you think about them. I think you always think Bears good defense, don't you? Like, I think that's just from the history of them. But
I think that what we've kind of seen here is this. There's a few teams, isn't there, in the playoffs that we kind of have said that their record is maybe a little bit inflated compared to what their actual play has been. And it does feel like the Bears are one of them teams where they seem to have got themselves quite a few one-score wins. And, we saw that last year with the Vikings, and they literally were one and done. So it's entirely possible that this could end up happening again, and that might be the problem for them. Defensively, they're not great. Offensively, they're pretty strong and they're all right. And obviously, like, Ben Johnson's done really well since he's been there. But the defense, you can score on them. And this is kind of going to be about whether Jeff Hafley can get his Packers defense to do what it did last time and get to the point where you're like, you're starting the fourth quarter and they've only got 6 points in their own ground. I mean, if that can happen again, then you have to fancy the Packers to win it.
Yeah, the over-under is set at 45. The weather is supposed to be bad for this game. They said either way, it's going to be cold. It's either going to be cold and wet or it's going to be cold and snowy. It's going to be one of the two. So it could be a low-scoring game. Could be a lot of rushing involved in this. So the 45, do you like the over or the under on this game?
I think the under kind of makes sense. Like I say, that game last time when it was 16-6 going into the last quarter, it kind of feels like if it hadn't been for all the mistakes, then you wouldn't have got such a high score. So, I mean, even the one in Lambeau, it was 28-21, which I know obviously is above the 45, but that was... that was kind of like because of mistakes that were made from the Bears' point of view as well. So, yeah, I feel like under makes a lot of sense. It does feel like the defenses could be what's key in this game, and as you say, the weather's not great, so it does feel like it's going to be a case of. I think it's going to be a lot of run game and probably the occasional bomb over the top in order to sort of catch them out. I think is probably what the plan's going to be for most of this game.
Which team do you think has the better running attack?
If you've got a fully fit Josh Jacobs, then I'd say the Packers.
Okay. I think that's what it's going to come down to. Who has the better run game? I think that's what it's going to come down to. So, if you like the Packers, then maybe the Packers is the way forward. Because I think Packers are going to edge them. I think they'll be better on defense than the Bears. So
yeah, I agree with that. I'm not overly sold on Swift. I think he's been okay this season, but I wouldn't say he's been amazing. Monongai, I think, has been good, and he's a tough runner to slow down, But yeah, I do. I think if you've got a fully fit Josh Jacobs out there, I think although Swift and Monongai are solid, I would say that Jacobs, a fit Jacobs is elite in this league at the moment, and I think that could be where the difference is.
The next game is one that we were all slightly confused at by the line. It has moved quite a bit, I think, because I think. They were favoured by more than this, but the Jags are going against the Bills, and they are the underdogs, despite being, in fact, the higher seed and the team at the minute with all the momentum and all of the consistency and all the win streak at the minute is flying against the Bills team, which you don't know. We've spoke about this. If you want to hear more, go and listen to the Monday show because we fully went into it. I think this is a no-brainer to take the +1 on the Jags at home against the Bills. I really like the Jags in this. I think their defense is clicking. The offense, Trevor Lawrence is not fumbling. He's not throwing interceptions at the minute. I think he's only had how many has he had in the last 8 weeks? He only had 2 or 3 interceptions. The fumbles have obviously come down. So
yeah, I did a bit because when I did the bet builder for this, I did a little bit on Trevor Lawrence, which probably tells you a bit of a clue as to what some of the bets are in the bet builder. As I was doing Trevor Lawrence, but yeah, in the last few weeks, there's been look, the Jags have improved dramatically since we saw them against the Rams in London, and they had their bye week and. Something clearly changed then. It's like there was a definite improvement. And although he came, after that, he was still throwing interceptions. It's like so after the bye, he threw 1-1-1-3, so it's like he threw 6 interceptions in 4 games. And that was against Arizona was the last one of that. Once he got to week 13, from week 13 to the end of this season, he's only thrown 1 interception against the Colts. Yeah. And not only is that the case, but also, you've seen as well around the same sort of time, a little bit later, but you look at the rushing yards, he's just rushing with the ball so much more. And he's had 4 touchdowns in the last 4 weeks, just purely from rushing. And I think that is what kind of, you said not that long ago that it feels like Liam Cohen has sort of unlocked Trevor Lawrence sort of thing. And it feels like that ability to rush the ball and to not just be a pocket passer anymore, because he's not. That when you actually look at it, he isn't just a pocket passer anymore. And I think that that's making a huge difference, because it really does create a problem for defenses, because they just don't know what he's going to do as much. And I think that wasn't necessarily the case before, certainly before this season, but even before the bye, it felt like that wasn't the case as well. So it does feel like that's made a big difference. And I think it's going to make a big difference in this game as well, because, you've got a Bills defense that are currently ranked 28th against giving up rushing yards in the season. And it just kind of feels a little bit like, well, now you've got ETN and you've got Tootin and now you've got Trevor Lawrence as well, who can all rush the ball. And also Lawrence has the ability to pass as well. He's put up multiple games, especially in the last few weeks, where he's thrown for 3 or more touchdowns. And I think that kind of just goes to show that it's like there's a lot more variety to the Jags offense now compared to what there was. And you've got a Bills defense that really, really struggles against the run. So I think you're right. I mean, I like it. I like the +1 on them. I mean, I'm surprised just as much as you that it feels like it's the wrong way round. But I do genuinely believe that the reason it's that way round is just purely the name recognition.
Yeah, I'd go as far to say you can click in this and change the spreads if you want, but I'd go as far to say I'd go into it and take the -3 on the Jags as well. I wouldn't. Yeah, that wouldn't bother me at all.
I think if you wanted to go for the -2.5, definitely. I think that kind of within the field goal, I think it's the way forward, and push it out further, because it's not all the time, but more often than not, games are decided by 3 or more points. So it does kind of feel like it's a good shout.
Yeah, you talk about ETN there as well. We said Trevor Lawrence has been unlocked. I think ETN's been unlocked as well, because there was a lot of draft capital put into him, and he's kind of been good, but hasn't been great. But this year he's been great, which is, again, another tip of the hat to Liam Cohen, really.
Yeah.
Just sort of unlocking players, and Brenton Strange is back. They brought in Jacoby Myers, BTJ's healthy now, so they've got all the weapons there, and that suggests it's going to be high scoring, because Josh Allen can make any game high scoring, and the over under is 51.5. I think it's the highest of all of them. Just have a quick. Yeah, it's easily the highest of all of them. Do you see it living up to being a shootout and over the 51.5, or can you see, again, it's playoffs? Will it be conservative? Will they play a different game? Or will this be the shootout we want it to be?
I think that this is the one where, and obviously you've got a much higher over-under. I do feel like this is the one that will be the shootout, because I'm not quite sure how it doesn't become the shootout. As I said before, the Bills can't really stop the run very well. They're very, very good against the pass. But that's not because they're very good against the pass. That's because no one's passing on them, because they can just run on them. So I think the Jags have got multiple different ways where they can put up a decent amount of points here. The Bills themselves is kind of a similar situation. It's just the complete flip on the head sort of thing. The Jags are incredibly good against the run, but are 20th against the pass this season. So it's like, again, I feel like that means that, you've got someone like Josh Allen who just does have that ability to be able to pull something out of nothing. And it feels like, although the Bills rely on their run game quite a lot, and I think they're going to struggle to be able to get James Cook going as much as what he normally does. They do still have pass catchers who are all right. They're not the best by any stretch, but they are still solid. Khalil Shakir is a good pass catching option. Dalton Kincaid is a good pass catching option.
None of them are really deep threat options, though, are they?
Well, no, but they have got Brandon Cooks now, haven't they? And we did see a couple of times in the last couple of weeks, Brandon Cooks got involved. So I do think that you do have that option as well. It, like I say, for me, I think the Jags are kind of a bit more of they feel like the offense is a better all-round offense at the moment and can attack you in more ways than what the Bills can at the moment. And that will probably be why they get over the line, in my opinion. But I think that the Bills have that ability to score on them, and you can pass on this Jags defense. So I think because of that, it's difficult to not see this going over 51.5, and I think it could be quite a big game when it comes to the total. The rest of them, I don't feel like there's a massive total in any of the others, but in this one, I feel like this could easily be a game where it's almost like 30 each sort of thing, and you're going into for a field goal at the end or whatever. So yeah, I think this is a big one.
Both teams haven't had a trouble getting to that 30-point mark this year either. So
no, that's also true. Yeah,
definitely a thing. That the next game is the 49ers at the Eagles. The spread is set at 4.5 in favor of the Eagles. This was a different one to assess. I know, obviously, I think we all went down the line of the Eagles, but when we're talking betting and it's plus 4.5, is that quite favorable then to start looking at the 49ers a bit more? Because the Eagles haven't really got it going on offense. They are very defensive, sort of like reliant. And with that being said, that could make it a close game. And then obviously with it being over a field goal, that might put you on the side of the 49ers for this one. Are you in the same impression with that?
Yeah, it's quite I think this feels like it's going to be a horrible defensive, tight, niggly game where it's going to be more about how many fights are the two teams going to get involved in rather than how many touchdowns you're going to get. So I feel like this is going to be a low scoring game. As you say, the Eagles are very strong defensively and have been for most of the season. Certainly against the pass. They're not as good against the run, and obviously you have got Christian McCaffrey here, so I think that will create some problems for this Eagles defense. But yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like it's a really, really horrible number. 4.5. It's like it really is a not a particularly nice one to look at, because I feel like even if it was 3.5, it would be better. But 4.5, it does make you sort of err slightly towards the plus for the 49ers, because I do think they are going to be. I think it's going to be close, and I think it's going to be. I could see this being a 2.3 point win for the Eagles. I think the Eagles will win it. I think that their defense will just have enough. And also, I know the offense hasn't been great this season, but I think there is just that thing where once it comes to the playoffs, the offense doesn't necessarily need to be great in order to win games, but I think that the defense does. And for the Eagles, I feel like they could have that. So that's why I think they win. But yeah, the plus 4.5 appeals more than the minus 4.5.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the 49ers, I think we've got to rule out last week's performance. And I know they were held to 3 points, and Christian McCaffrey was held to his lowest score since week 1, and all things like that. But, they rested a lot of players. Purdy's not the same quarterback when Trent Williams isn't out there. And all of these names are supposed to be coming out. Pierce was supposed to be back. Trent Williams is supposed to be back. Maybe some of the guys on defense might be healthy for this one. Christian McCaffrey has the option to be Christian McCaffrey again. I said if Shanahan is one of the best sort of scheme and play callers and offensive minds of the game. So he's going to have a game plan set out that's going to be the first 6 drives or whatever. He's going to have them already planned, already written. He knows what he's going to do. If they get off to a good start against this Eagles team that hasn't really got off to good starts, they seem to be a second half team, as you say, wear people down and then sort of claw it back in the second half. If the 49ers get off to a quick start and get in front, I could see this getting a bit what's the word I'm looking for? A bit tetchy in Philadelphia, because I can see the fans starting to boo, not really sort of wanting to get behind their team, and it could become a bit hostile. So that could play a big factor in this game, I think. So I do really like the +4.5 on the 49ers.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it, how you can be a playoff team and your fan base can just get on your back and start going for you just because things aren't going right at the beginning of a game. I mean, you've seen it in a lot of their games where things are not going right in the first half, and the fans are on their back already. And I understand.
We've got Gareth in our group
chat.
Yeah. He watches their games, and within sort of 15 minutes of the game, sack the OC. You know, he's we're so predictable. You know, this can't continue.
He's not wrong though when it comes to like the predictability of it. It's true, and I understand that. Look, this offense and how it's playing this season is clearly not at the same level as what they were last season. So I can understand why there is frustration there and why fans are sort of like annoyed with what's going on. But sometimes, I mean, not me. I'm not exactly one to talk, given the fact that I'm a Packers fan and all that. But I feel like someone like you could come out and be a little bit like, this is what is on the other side of it, so stop moaning so much, kind of thing. Where it's like there are a lot of teams out there that don't get anywhere close to it.
Yeah, but I have said, obviously, being a Giants fan, and last season was unwatchable. Literally, you couldn't watch the games at all. And this season, I've enjoyed watching them. So I think that's what you've got. Like, if you're not enjoying watching your own team play, it can be a bit down
difficult.
every single week. Which I'm guessing is where they're coming from, because the Eagles aren't enjoyable to watch at the minute. They're not. They really aren't. It's not even like a Steelers thing, you know, when it's just defense. They're still exciting to watch. The Eagles haven't been. This over-under is set at 44.5, which seems like that's where it's at. I was just trying to do the calculations in my head of what I think the kind of game will be, and I'm around that. I really can't call whether it's going to be over or under with where I'm at with the score. I'm leaning towards possibly under. Where are you going with this one?
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like under is where we're looking at here.
17-15 games.
Yeah, I think it's something along them lines. I think you could have something like a 21-17 kind of thing going on here. I feel like the idea that you're going to hit 45, both 25 and 25-20 is what you need for that. I feel like the defenses are just going to be too tight and are just going to sort of, especially the Eagles, I think they'll just sort of like they'll crack down on anything so quickly. I think that, to me, the under is what I feel like it will be, and I don't think it'll be far from that number. But I
think they've got it bang on. It's
I think I would rather veer towards the under than the over.
I can see it being sort of both, neither team getting above 20. I can see that, but
because I know you said about last week and the 49ers and not being able to do much, but I think they had 3 weeks before that where they scored quite heavily, but then there was a couple of weeks before that where it was like there was some weeks where they really didn't score very well at all.
Purdy's been back. They've been firing on all cylinders on offense.
Haven't they? Certainly much more.
Well, I say better. I think they've actually been one of the best offensive scoring teams in the league in that period. I'm just going to quick look.
I just feel like it's going to be tough again away as well. And I mean, I had a look. The weather's not meant to be great for this one either, and yeah, it does. It just feels like it's not.
So that stretch of him being back, it was 37. They put 37, 48, 42. They were one of the highest scoring. That was against Titans, Colts, Bears. So they're one of the highest scoring offenses, if not the highest scoring offense in the league in that stretch where Purdy was back and healthy and playing. They played the Browns the week before that and put up 26. So yeah, they have the ability when they're all back on all fit. Like I said, when Trent Williams is out there, Purdy's a different quarterback, and that might be the difference. I think we're looking at that Seahawks game and going, oh, they were held to 3, they got bullied, but it wasn't their full strength, was it? So this is what I mean. Like Monday, I was like, yeah, if they got bullied by the Seahawks, if any other team could bully them, it's the Eagles. Then when you sort of like digest it and look at it a bit more, that's not the full picture. But yeah, I don't know. If the Eagles come out with a win there, I think Shanahan's done a fantastic job as well. And again, like I said, if anyone can, he's the coach to do it with the team that's banged up. Next game is the Chargers at the Patriots. It is set at 3.5, so just over that field goal. This really split the F-Tag group when we had it on the show, because Sky went first with his debate, really sold the Patriots. Fred was all over it and loved it. It was like, yep, there's no chance of the Chargers winning this one. Do either of us want to say anything? I put my point forward, and all of a sudden he flipped and went, oh, yeah, actually, you convinced me it's a Chargers win. I've heard this a lot through a lot of different podcasts. I was listening to one earlier today, and the two people that were on it were split. One was Patriots, sees them winning easy. The other was like, no, Chargers have got this. So, again, it's splitting a lot of people, like the Bears-Packers game. Adam, it's 3.5. I said on the show, if I'm a betting man, we're now on the betting show, I'm taking the 3.5 on the Chargers this week.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a very close game, and I actually think it could be closer than the 3.5, which is why I kind of agree with the Chargers side of this now. I think it makes sense. When you look at the sort of stats of what has happened here over the course of the season, both defenses, they're actually very similar. They're both top 10 defenses on both sides of the ball. And I think that says quite a lot. So you've got that side to it where it's almost like, to a certain degree, the defenses are going to kind of cancel each other out and stop a lot of plays from happening here. When you look at it from an offensive point of view, obviously Drake May has been great this season and has done really, really well. There is Diggs, but aside from Diggs, there isn't really that number one playmaker on that team. I know some people will say Henderson, but the problem is, as I've found throughout the whole of the season, having him in fantasy, is that because Stevenson's there, it takes so much of it away from Henderson. And his best games were when he was being used relatively heavily. So it kind of feels like they don't really have that number one playmaker guy to get them over the line. And although people might say the same for the Chargers, I feel like McConkey and Keenan Allen and Quinton Johnson and Rondé Gadsden actually as well.
And Trey Harris.
Yeah, and Trey Harris. I feel like them options are better than what the options are that the Patriots have got.
And Vidal.
Yeah. If you want to use the run game as well, you've got Hampton and Vidal. I mean, with the Patriots, it's like you've got Diggs, who is solid, but is kind of coming sort of down now compared to where he was in his career. I feel like Kayshon Boutte has been great this season, but he does go missing in games. You've got Hunter Henry, again, solid, but not fantastic. It feels like it's all very close, apart from the fact that I just feel like them Chargers wide receiver options are better and of a higher standard.
And they've been there and done it as well. all of them on that offense have been to the playoffs before, apart from Hampton. They've been there and have had a taste of it, whereas a lot of the Patriots guys, bar Diggs, they haven't been there before. They don't know what it's like. So,
Patriots fans don't like it, but you've played no one. Your schedule has been incredibly kind, and that obviously means that although you've got a good defense, there's a good defense going up against offenses that haven't really done much. So it is very, you don't quite know 100% whether they are this top 10 defense. Whereas for the Chargers, I feel like they have gone up against tougher teams this season, and they have played a much harder schedule compared to the Patriots, and that does kind of almost make you battle tested to a certain extent. I know that Justin Herbert has got an injury to his hand. However, he was playing with it and has been playing with it and has still been fairly solid with it. And although I think that Vrabel is a really good coach, I think Harbaugh is a better one.
Oh, yeah.
So if you throw everything into it, the only thing that really puts you on the Patriots side is that you can say momentum, just purely from the fact that they have been winning games all season and their confidence must be incredibly high, and they're at home. But even being in New England, I mean, you're dealing with a team that has been coached by Harbaugh and Jesse Minter on the defense, and then it's not like they're not used to being and dealing with cold weather, having been in Michigan, is it? So it just sort of lends me to the Chargers. I think it'll be tight, but it does kind of make me lean towards the Chargers, and the fact that you're getting over a field goal just makes me go there even more.
Yeah, I think you talk about the defense on the Patriots and how good it's been. I don't think they're putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback, are they? Not getting to the quarterback. I think they're like
it's very much a statistical thing that they've come across very well. But I as I always say, what have they played against offensively? These teams, they've played the Jets twice that have done nothing. You've played the Dolphins twice that have done next to nothing. The Bills have been all right. And then you look at some of the other teams, and it's like a lot of these teams on the offense, they're just not really firing at all. And it just kind of feels a little bit like, statistically, you look good, but I feel like it's a bit of a trap.
Yeah, I quite like the Chargers money line in this game. I'm not going to lie. But so I'm definitely taking the plus 3.5 on that. And I think this is, for me, out of all the games, is one of the top games I want to watch. That's one that and the Jags Bills game. They're the two that I really, really want to watch.
Yeah.
The last game we've got is the Houston Texans at the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's -3 for the Texans. I don't think we'll be on this one too long. I like the -3 on the Texans. Steelers were lucky to be in this position. A missed field goal is the reason they are here. I don't think their defense has looked good. Their offense has only looked good because Aaron Rodgers is playing well all year. I said this a few weeks back. He's the shining light of that whole team this season. The run game's not great. They haven't got anybody outside of DK Metcalf really to throw the ball to. And Houston, that defense is fire, and offensively now they've started to get it going. I really like CJ Stroud. I think he throws a really, really nice ball, develops really well with the youngsters as well. So I can see this being a comfortable victory for the Texans. So I'm happy to take the -3 on them.
Yeah, I really like the -3 for the Texans. I think they're by far the better team at the moment than the Steelers. The defense on the Texans is probably the top one really in this playoffs. Really,
it's not a weakness, is there?
No, I mean,
the secondary are both strong.
Yeah, I mean, you could maybe argue the Seahawks over them, but I think that's the only one I would say. Other than that, I think the Texans are the best defense here by quite a way. And yeah, like you say, they have no weakness there. Fourth in the league when it comes to giving up rushing yards, sixth when it comes to giving up passing yards. Going up against the Steelers defense, that 29th in the league when giving up passing yards, better against the run, kind of middle of the pack. But yeah, I mean they're not. You can score on this Steelers defense, and they've kind of let the side down quite a lot. I mean, they've always been a very strong defense. That's kind of their sort of identity and has been for many years. And this year, it's completely fallen away. So yeah, I'm not as sold on CJ Stroud. I haven't been for some time. He had a very good rookie year, and it kind of fell away. However, um, I can see that he has looked much better in the last sort of 3-4 weeks, and it feels like these playmaking options that he's got are suddenly starting to create an offense that actually can do enough in order to be able to go further than just winning this game. I really like them for the AFC side. I think they've got a very, very good chance because I just feel like that defense is just going to send you so far. And as you say, the Steelers, they've got in because of a missed field goal from the Ravens, and it's just not really working. Metcalf is back, but it's not been a particularly great season. It's been a steady season for the Steelers, which is kind of what they've been for many years now. And it feels a little bit like, unless you think, I don't know, I do feel like you look at what's happened in Baltimore. They've lost, they've not got in, and they've got rid of a coach of 18 years. I wouldn't be shocked if it happened here.
On that, I know it's away from betting, but do you think, because I haven't seen anything from Lamar, hasn't put anything out saying thank you to Harbaugh, has he? So
no, did you hear his interview after the game?
Do you think that they've had a conversation in the office afterwards, and Harbaugh's gone, I want to move forward without Lamar, and the Ravens have gone, that's not happening. So what we saying? Are you off? Do you think this is the behind closed doors? Do you think this is what's happened?
So apparently, so Lamar did his after the game against the Steelers, and someone asked him and basically came out and said, "Do you still want Harbaugh to stick around?" sort of thing. And he was just like, "I can't think about next season. I'm stunned by what's happened," and didn't really answer. It didn't really say anything. And obviously, everyone kind of jumped on that and went a little bit like, why are you not saying just come out and go, yeah, I want, that's all you need to do is just come out and go, yeah, I want him there next season. So it does feel like that possibly there is something in that. Another thing I heard is that the ownership wanted to make some changes in the coaching staff, not Harbaugh, but other coaching like OC, DC, other different ones. And he wasn't happy about that. He wanted to keep his guys. And it all kind of fell apart, and then that was the end, sort of thing. So that's another thing that's been out. But yeah, I mean, it wouldn't shock me at all if a similar thing happened here. If the Texans win this game and the Steelers do not perform well, and everyone's kind of a little bit like, they haven't really done much this season. It's kind of the same old, same old. Could happen.
Do you think they'll fire him, or do you think they'll shop him around? Do you think they'll just say, look, there's a great trade if you want him?
It's weird, isn't it? Because Harbaugh was technically fired, wasn't he?
Yeah.
It kind of feels like you shouldn't fire.
I think Harbaugh's fired because, like I said, I believe he's gone into the office and said, I want to move forward without Lamar.
Yeah, maybe.
Gone, that's not happening. We're building around him. You're out. I think so. They've gone, we're not on the same page anymore. You're gone. Whereas the Steelers, I think it's more of they're happy with Tomlin. They don't move off of people, do they? I think that they're all right with it. But
but then you could argue the same with the Ravens. I mean, he was there for 18 years. They don't move off people much either. I mean, I think it might be a mutual passing of the ways is probably what will happen with Tomlin if that does happen. I don't think I'm not sure they'll trade him. I think they would just say let's just call it a day.
Do you think Rodgers will have a say so in this?
Yeah, I mean, look, if Rodgers wants to come back and he wants to play for the Steelers, then I think Tomlin will be there. I don't think there'll be any difference in that. Having said that, I'm not sure Rodgers wants to come back and play for the Steelers. I think Rodgers wants to come back and play for a different team.
The Vikings?
Yeah, yes, that would be delightful, wouldn't it, to see him in a Vikings uniform?
Yeah, that's what we wanted this year, but it didn't happen. Right, we've done things slightly different. Oh, we did do the over and under on that one. Quick, well, I think
38.5, very low.
It is very low, but it's going to be a defensive game, isn't it? And the Houston Texans haven't been great in the red zone, so lots of field goals, I reckon.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the over might hit. I think the Texans might score a few more points than you think.
I'm all right with that. I'm happy with it. I do think they'll win convincingly. I don't think it'll be a tight game. So
No.
I'm all right with it being over. I just unsure how many the Steelers is going to score.
Yeah, that's true. I think the Steelers will do enough to get, say, like 14 or something like that, in which case I could see the Texans getting 25.
Fair. We are doing a double for the Saturday games and a treble for the Sunday games. Adam, who have you gone for in the Rams game? I think we'll bring all the touchdown scorers. We'll have a look at all of them, and you can tell me who you've had.
Yeah, so for the Rams, I've gone for Colby Parkinson at 13-5. As I said, I think that the Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. Firstly, I expect Adams will probably score, and Nakua's got a chance. Although Nacua his touchdowns do drop quite considerably when Adams is out there, so I wouldn't be on him at all. But yeah, Adams I think is a good shout, but he's very, very short. So I've gone for Colby Parkinson, 13-5. I think that the tight ends are getting more involved. Tyler Higbee, as you said, got involved quite a lot last week. But Colby Parkinson has been involved all season. He's actually been pretty decent for them.
All season.
And at the price, I think he's got a very good chance of coming in at a decent price. The only other one, and probably the one that you might have gone for, was Blake Corum at 7-4. I think that's a decent shout as well, but I quite like Parkinson at the price.
Yeah, I went Blake Corum. That was the one I went for. Neither Williams or Corum have been in the end zone in the last couple of games, but Corum has been in there more than Williams lately. I just feel like this is the type of game that he's probably going to be used a bit more. And I think that's I think it's tight ends and running backs and Devontae Adams really for touchdowns in this. And then outside of that, I wouldn't steer people away from Jalen Colker in this game as well. I do think the Panthers are going to score. I do think the weakness of the Rams is the cornerbacks and secondary. So I do think there's going to be ability for them to get a touchdown through the air. And Colker seems to be the informed one for touchdowns for me. So at 16-5, I think if you want something on the other side, that should be a good bet as well.
Yeah, no, I think he's a decent receiver. He looks good, does Jalen Colker. So yeah, I think he's got a good shout. For the Packers Bears game, I kind of was split between the two guys. For me, in the end, I've gone for Christian Watson at 17-10. I just think that although I expect the run game to be quite significant on both sides of the ball, I do feel like the big shot over the top is something that is going to happen quite a lot as well. And I kind of just felt like it's if that's going to be anybody, it's going to be Christian Watson. Bo Melton is actually missing the game. He's out injured. Who's the other one who goes over the top a lot? So it kind of feels like it's going to fall to Christian Watson here. Jordan Love, as we all know, loves to throw the ball over the top as much as he possibly can. And so I went for that in the end just because of that. The only other guy that I like the look of was Colston Loveland, just purely because I think that he seems to have got going now.
He's
It
the
feels
go-to
like
guy now.
he is, and it's kind of like he's really got going, and the relationship with Caleb Williams is really working. And at 21-10, I thought he was a very good price. So yeah, Parkinson and Watson worked out at 8.72 to 1. If you want to have Loveland instead of Watson, it's 10.16 to 1. But for me, I'm going to go Parkinson and Watson.
I went with Coram and Loveland. So we both we've both come out with the same names that we like for touchdowns in these games. The odds are very short on mine. They're just under 8 to 1. So very, very short. The only other person I like in this game, other than that, is Reed, because I think there might be some design run plays for him, with it being maybe a run-heavy game. I think if you think about your options, it's Jacobs. Would you then give the ball to Reed before you give it to Wilson if you're in the red zone? I think you do, and that could be the potential for me. And his odds are 5 to 2. So I know he's not been in the end zone, but he has been injured and only recently come back. But I just think style of game, there's potential for Reed to get in the end zone.
Yeah.
The Sunday fixtures. What we got? We've got Bills, Jags.
Yeah, so for Bills Jags, I've gone for Trevor Lawrence at 17-10. As we said when we were talking about the game, he's rushing the ball so much more now. He's had 4 touchdowns in the last 4 games. The Bills defense really struggle against the run, and it kind of just felt like the obvious move, really. I mean, the only other one that I liked from it is Dalton Kincaid at 5 to 2, because I think that he's a good price. But he hasn't, he's struggled for fitness for most of the season, and he's been a bit in and out, but he seemed to be back and fit. So I think he's a solid option. But yeah, for me, Trevor Lawrence at the price just felt like the right one to go for.
I also went Trevor Lawrence as well. Just again, fully agree with you. They're using him so much more. So he's been deadly with his legs, like he was in Clemson. So yeah, those odds are fantastic. Is it strange to see, because it's up in front of you there, that the Bills are the favourites, yet all the shorter odds are on all of the Jags players? You've got James Cook and Josh Allen, fair enough. And then it's Etienne, Lawrence, Strange, Thomas, Myers, Washington, before you get to Kincaid and Shakir. So it's running plays for the Bills, which we know the Jags are good at stopping, and then none of the wide receivers until later on. So it seems odd that the bookies think all the touchdowns are going to come to the Jags players, but Bills are going to win.
Yeah, it is a strange look when you see it, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. And like I say, I think it is very much about the name recognition of the Buffalo Bills and the fact that, in theory, the Chiefs aren't there, the Ravens aren't there. They've been their main opposition in the AFC, and that they should sort of go through. And no, I don't think anyone feels particularly confident about any team on the AFC side this season. And so I think that because of that, people are probably going, "Oh, the Bills, they're the team that are, they've done well previous years." But yeah, as you say, you look at it, it doesn't make a lot of sense. The fact that they believe that all these guys can get in ahead of any of the wide receivers or tight ends for the Bills is strange. And the idea that it's going to be Cook and Allen are just going to do it all by themselves against this defense that's number one when it comes to giving up rushing yards just doesn't really make sense. So
that being said, we think that if Allen is going to come back and win this game, he's got to beat them through the air. Do you like out of Bills players. I like Dawson Knox at 3-1. Who do you like?
So I like Kincaid at 5-2. I think that when he's fit, I think he's the main option. Like, he'll be there, so I think he's got a good chance. And I will always, I do feel like Brandon Cooks at 5-1 has got a chance of just getting a bomb over the top against this Jags defense that isn't so great. And then finally, the only other one I would sort of go for, and it's not necessarily through the air, but it's Ty Johnson. I think that he is worth a shout at 6-1 and worth sort of like talking about, because he has shown that he's a quality sort of option, and he did really well last week. I know they rested some of their players, but he still looked pretty good, and he will get involved and has got involved in playoff games before. So I think Johnson's a decent shout. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence for me just sort of stood out, and he was 17-10 when I looked at it. He's now 7-4. Even still, it just stands out a mile for me.
Yeah, I wouldn't steer anyone away from Ty Johnson or Ray Davis, to maybe Ty Johnson a bit more, because as we've just seen the odds at the top of the screen, they looks like they're gonna just run it with Cook and Allen.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, they're gonna blend in Johnson and Davis to rest those two. So definitely a chance. But yeah, we've both gone Trevor Lawrence. Next game is 49ers Eagles. Who have you had in that game?
I've gone for AJ Brown at 6-4. It's not I know that it feels like it's going to be a lot of run, but it feels like AJ Brown has really sort of like come back into the team. There was a lot of sort of unrest, it felt, at the beginning of the season, and wasn't really doing much. But it does feel like he kind of is getting more and more involved now. He's getting more and more targets as well from Jalen Hurts, and he's always been a really good red zone option as well. So at 6-4, it's not a big price, but it was just kind of the one that I sort of like looked at and saw and felt like he's probably gonna score, because he normally does. He's had 3, hasn't he, in the last 5 weeks, and it didn't feel like there was much else that I was that excited for. I just apart from McCaffrey, I was just a little bit like, there's not much that I really like on the 49ers. I think it's going to be a really tight defensive game. Yeah, I mean, and when you look at the other options, I mean, look, Devonta Smith could score, but he hasn't scored. He's only scored 1 in the last 5 weeks. Dallas Goedert feels like the form pick. But again, I'm just not completely sold on it at the moment. And I just feel like Brown's the guy, isn't he? He's the main number 1 target in theory.
If things are going bad, that's just where the ball's going to go.
Yeah, and that was kind of the logic behind it.
I went with Dallas Goedert because I like the odds mainly.
Yeah,
2-1. I just couldn't pass up the opportunity of the guy that keeps getting in the end zone at 2-1. Did also like Jawan Jennings as well for the 49ers. Thought that's probably a sensible bet.
I'm just worried like Jennings, he's playing with broken ribs, isn't he?
Yeah, well, we saw him get injured, didn't we? Got absolutely crushed. But seems to be the guy that keeps getting in the end zone. Sky really likes Pearsall for this game, doesn't he? Really likes him. 4-1
for some reason. Yeah.
But yeah, I think Goddard, especially with the style of the game, they might need to dump it off to him a lot. He's always got a chance. He gets a lot of targets underneath, doesn't he? So I've gone with Goddard at 2-1. And then the final one is the Chargers Patriots. Who have you had in that?
Final one, I've gone for a Rondé Gadsden in that one. 5-2. I think he's a good 5-2. Yeah, I felt like he was decent odds. He's bigger than McConkey and Quinton Johnson. And yeah, I just feel like there was a couple of times in the last few weeks when things were sort of like falling apart for the Chargers, and they needed that win. I felt like Gadsden was the one who was getting them targets from Justin Herbert and was where he was going. So he hasn't scored loads of touchdowns. He's only scored 1 in the last 5, but he does feel like he's a solid option at 5-2. The only other guy I looked at, and actually his price has gone in quite a bit, was Keishon Booty. But I feel more confident with Gadsden, and I just feel like, because I feel like the Chargers are probably gonna get the win, I feel a little bit more confident that that's how they're gonna do it as well. I think that the Patriots will probably slow the run game a bit, and that Gadsden will have to be used quite a bit in this game. So yeah, I went for him. So Lawrence at 17-10, Brown 6-4, and Gadsden at 5-2 came out as 22.63 to 1.
Yeah, I felt like I was unsure of which one of the Chargers wide receivers, which I've had this problem quite a lot this season with picking Chargers wide receivers to get in the end zone. I had a nice little streak with Lad McConkey when he was struggling a bit, and then I was like, yeah, he's going to get it back. And I had a bit of a streak with him then, but I'm still not convinced. So what I am convinced is their run game will be good. So I've gone with Hampton at 5-4. Just feel like he's definitely going to be given the ball a lot, and he's going to be given it in running and passing as well. So I just feel like there's definitely the option there. Out of all of them, I did like McConkey the most of the wide receivers at a bigger price. So I put Hampton in there, and mine comes out at 17.5 to 1. That's Lawrence, Goddard, and Hampton. So I was happy with the odds. If you take Hampton out and put McConkey in, it comes in at 26 to 1, I believe. So if you wanted slightly bigger odds and putting McConkey in there, which I think is not silly, I think that also makes some good odds. I thought yours would be higher with the guys that you said. So bringing yours down a bit.
Yeah, AJ Brown obviously at 6-4 kind of brings it down, but yeah, I mean he's 22 to 1, so it's all right. The one thing I would say just quickly before we finish, my favourite touchdown scorer for all 6 games is in the game that we haven't spoken about.
So we can talk about touchdown scorers.
So for the Texans, Jaden Higgins is 7-2.
7-2. Yes, get your money, or like pour your money on it. I had him last week, didn't I? It was my
4-1
for last week at massive odds, and he came in. So yes, ride the train.
I think it's the best one for quite, like, out of all of them. I don't really like a lot. I mean, Trevor Lawrence at 17-10, I think is a very good bet as well. But at the price of 7-2, I was just like, why is this guy still at such a high price here? I know he's not the number one target, but Nico Collins is kind of almost being used as the decoy now. And that's where the defenders are going, and it's opened up Higgins so much. And at 7-2, I just think it's a crazy price.
Yeah, I'd be all over that. Connor Haywood used in the tush push from now on, isn't he? And then he's short yardage. He's also 11-2. But yeah, Jaden Higgins is probably the sensible bet of this whole thing we've done here. I think that those odds are fantastic. So nice way to wrap up the show, Adam. Well, Wildcard Weekend, I'm sure it's not going to let us down, and it's going to give us the wild weekend that we think it's going to be. So best of luck if your team's still in it. If not, enjoy the weekend, and we'll be back next week. And keep it with the franchise tag, and we'll see you again very soon.